Now, before I even go further, I would like to say that this is not my presentation. A lot of people helped me, contributed a lot to this, and I would like to mention my colleagues, Dr. Dina Jordar, Dr. Rieder Perez, and Ms. Viziel Vasquez from DSM, who helped me a lot, and also our alliance partner from Novozymes, Dr. Nympha, had important contributions. A lab in the UK, where we did some analysis, especially to look into the India situation, some of the raw materials, and I very much appreciate Dr. Ramarao's contribution and sharing thoughts on the Indian situation as well. So, looking at the global situation, and I think also the Indian situation or the Asian situation as well, we are seeing that, first of all, GDP is normally rising, and that means that there is more disposable income, and because of that we have an increase in meat consumption, poultry consumption, also proteins like egg, even milk. What it means is that one of the important raw materials, soybean meal, is used more and more, and of course that means that we are more and more dependent, besides India, of course, which produces a lot of soybean meal, in countries like US, Brazil, and Argentina. And we need to look into how we can reduce this. We all heard that the price of soybean meal continues to go up, and we need to look into alternatives. And I could talk about a lot of raw materials, but I think for today's for Knowledge Day, it's very important to focus on two which are very relevant to India, and those are rapeseed canola and also cottonseed meal, and they can address this situation. They can help to increase global production, to help in that quest, and also affordability. And of course, they are very compatible with livestock production, and in addition to that, have very high quality oil, which is very important for human consumption. What is also important is, by doing that, by looking into alternative ingredients, we are helping with the environment and the sustainability around us. And one of the things, as you know, is in order to produce more soya bean meal, we have very much deforestation of the Amazon. And the Amazon, as well as other areas, are very important. They are really the lungs of the earth because of the oxygen they produce. So we can help in that situation as well. When we look at the Indian rapeseed meal amino acid content, we see a similar situation with good levels of methionine and cysteine, and also the lysine is very comparable to the canola levels and the other amino acids. I think this is important information to take into consideration in formulating. Now, another important factor is to understand how good is the digestibility of these amino acids in the different raw materials, in particular, for example, canola or rapeseed meal. And you can see here that the mean digestibility is lower than that of the soybean meal. You see here 5 different canolas in that case, and rapeseeds versus 2 different soyas. And I think this is important because the amino acid content is, the crude protein is around 40%, and it's very important to look at the different amino acids and how much they contribute. And how much they contribute. Here you see a couple of measurements, and there is more information available on this. And again, the analysis that I showed you earlier for the rapeseed meal, now for cottonseed meal. And we'll look at the NSP constituent sugars, the total NSP, the different fractions, soluble, insoluble, and total. Again, factors which would affect, would improve viscosity if we can utilize the arabinose and xylose better, and glucose and galacturonic acid, which would help to release more energy. Similar levels of NSPs in this sample to the one we saw with the rapeseed meal. And here is the second sample. And this is something which, of course, I could talk a lot about, but what we have seen is, you see here, the levels are about 17.2, so quite a 50, almost 15% less than the previous one. And that's something we need to look more, the variability, if you like, from this. The variability on the raw materials and the content of the nutrients inside. Some work with broilers studies and 10% inclusion of India cottonseed meal. And here we have a comparison of non-GMO and BDSCM. Quite good results, showing that both work very well. And also, when we look at the lysine levels, the cottonseed meal do not require significantly higher lysine levels than the NRC levels. And here is a study where we had 30% of the soybean meal being replaced by cottonseed meal, and the performance was quite good. When we go a bit higher, we have more of an impact either on the body weight or on the FCR. This is from Dr. Ramarao data. This is another study, which I won't go into much detail, but basically we use cottonseed meat in Australia, and we use cottonseed meal in the starter phase at 200 grams crumble feed and 300 grams per kilo, or 30% in grower finisher. When we look at the results and we look at the weight, it's quite good at the whole period. At the end, also look at the feed intake here, and finally the FCR, very small differences, which we can conclude that up to 200 grams per kilogram of low gossypol cottonseed meal can be used during the starter, and 300 grams in the grower finisher period. What is very important is that the diets need to be formulated on a digestible amino acid basis. That is very important. And up to 50% of soybean meal can be replaced by the low gossypol cottonseed meal. I mentioned that it's very important to look into the amino acids properly and also utilize the enzymes to get even better results. As a summary, canola meal, when we look at canola meal, the nutrient composition and recommendation for use in poultry is largely variable, but the studies in India show that rapeseed meal is available, which are available, suggest that it can be used between 15 and 20% in poultry diets. And when we look at the cottonseed meal, can be used up to 15% in poultry diets. The enzymes, phytases, proteases, and carbohydrate studies highlight an improvement in digestibility and inclusions, so they can be used effectively to help to get more out of those raw materials. And of course, we should not stop here. We need to do a lot more, to work much more with the local raw materials, the Indian raw materials. We are working already, and we want to work much more with you to understand the raw materials better and understand how we can help to utilize them better and squeeze more out of them, give more to the animal, and keep the environment cleaner. Just a couple of slides to show you some of the in vitro work we did, where we actually at Novozymes, and Dr. Nympha Pedersen gave me this information. I won't go into all the details, but basically what we did is we took cottonseed meal or canola meal. We did an in vitro test, so we used agarose, we prepared samples, we treated them, and we put them on a plate. You see here we have the control and 3 different concentrations of the enzyme which has these pectinases, and we look at what was the effect overnight, and we had Basically what we had was, we stained it with ruthenium red, and what we saw was that this white, you see, when the enzyme is effective, we get this lighter color or white, and you see at low concentration, very little effect, and as we increase the concentration, we see the effect. Control, no effect, of course, and that is the cottonseed meal and canola meal. And we need to do a lot more in vitro and, of course, in vivo work to understand how we can utilize those raw materials and other raw materials we didn't have the chance to talk about today, to address the issue of having sustainable poultry production in the years to come. So with that, I would like to thank you very much for your attention.